Hello everyone, my name is Marshal Sewell and I'm a founder of the Mind Your Melon Foundation. And at the foundation, what we're trying to do is raise awareness for and connect people to resources around mental health and well-being in the agricultural industry. Now, I do need to give a bit of a disclaimer. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a clinician or a counselor. I like to say the closest thing I have to a PhD is a set of post hole diggers in the back of my pickup truck. But I do know about my own personal experience on my family farm, what we've witnessed and observed ourselves, and what we've learned along the way. And I'm happy to share that with you. When stress starts to build, there are oftentimes plenty of things that we can recognize in ourselves and also in others around us. And no two people are going to react the same way. Some people are really motivated by stress. Stress isn't always a bad thing. It's whenever we reach really high unsustainable levels of stress, or what we refer to as cumulative or compounding stress, that sometimes the weight can begin to get a little bit too heavy. And the way that that can sometimes show up in our lives is whenever our moods start shifting a little bit. If we start feeling more tired than normal, if we're easily getting frustrated, we're getting more impatient, we're losing focus, and sometimes it's even more physical or physiological. We might feel ourselves getting more anxious, elevated heart rate. We might start feeling headaches even. But oftentimes, something that I like to share, and it's something that was shared with me by somebody that I really look up to in the space, it's that we can recognize that our normal isn't really feeling so normal. I mentioned just a little while ago about when stress levels get really high, and sometimes we refer to it as compounding or cumulative stress, that can sometimes be an indication that we might be getting close to feeling what we call burnout. And that's when those pressures are getting really heavy. There's a lot going on. I mentioned that you might start feeling really fatigued or really tired. You might have difficulty sleeping. Sometimes you're lacking some motivation. It might be difficult for you to even think about doing the things that you normally do, your routine chores, your routine activities. Maybe you're having a hard time getting joy or having fun doing things that you would normally enjoy. You might be feeling even hopeless at times. But those are signals that something is out of alignment, and it oftentimes deserves attention. When we start recognizing signs of stress or even potential burnout, or if we just know that somebody's having a difficult time, or we recognize that we might be having a difficult time, something that I like to encourage for ourselves and for others around us is to add on one simple word to a question we would normally ask. It's pretty common and very transactional for us to see people and say, well, how are you doing? And we typically say we're good, or we're fine, or we're doing all right. What I've seen is that if you add that one simple word, really, to the end of that question and give people the opportunity to think about it and reflect and answer, a lot of times it's much deeper than good or fine. So if you ask somebody, how are you doing really? Or ask yourself, how am I doing really? And if we're honest, if we're vulnerable, if we're willing to do some of that introspection or inward looking, a lot of times we can start looking into things that have been going on in our life, things that we've been dealing with, and we can be more vulnerable about the things that we're experiencing and how it's showing up in our lives. If people are looking for resources, and especially if it's not urgent, if people are looking for, as I said, some of those preventative or proactive or protective type measures, then you can certainly go to our website at mindyourmelon.org. You can take a look at our website, some of the resources that we're linked to. We have our own directory where you can find a variety of resources, because we're trying to take a pretty diverse lens to the different stressors and challenges that we're really seeing at the field level within our ag community. So that may encompass a lot of different topics and approaches that might be relevant to your particular situation. But if you are in the middle of an urgent need, what we'd really encourage you to do is remember that emergency services are available. You should know the 988 number as well. It works very similarly to 911, but 988 is actually put on through SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. The 988 hotline is available for text and for call. It's available in English and in Spanish, and it's not only for people who are struggling and need help. If you know somebody who's having a difficult time and you don't know how to interact with them, you can also use the 988 hotline. Reach out to them and they can help guide you through a situation if you're trying to help somebody who might be in need. We're so very thankful for Farm Credit of Northwest Florida for being part of this conversation that a lot of times can be difficult to have. But we appreciate that you're all joining us, and as we like to say at Mind Your Melon, we hope that you always remember to check in on yourself, check in on your loved ones, and don't forget to mind your melon.